please talk about the sheer weaponization of a 10-speed bicycle? Because I am starting this recap so heated.
Oh, I know you are.
I mean, the psychological warfare of forcing a woman in full bridal elegance, like fresh blowout, crisp white dress, to pedal through incoming traffic to her pre-wedding dinner.
It is a lot to process.
It is not just cheap. It is a hostile act. You are handing her a helmet and basically saying, hey, your comfort means absolutely nothing to me.
Babes, welcome back to the Snark side. We love you, we see you, and honestly, every time we watch 90 Day Fiancé, we feel slightly better about our own lives because at least nobody is asking us to pack up our entire existence and move across the world after like 3 video calls.
Literally never.
But bestie, take a breath. I can practically see your blood pressure spiking right now.
My blood pressure is permanently elevated at this point. I mean, I have the passion fruit sangrias poured and ready because tonight requires heavy, medically necessary emotional support. I am sliding a giant glass over to you right now.
Thank God. I need the sangria to wash away the absolute delusion we participated in this weekend. Snark Squad, we tried to do a little artistic self-care this weekend, and it was a humbling experience to say the least.
The paint and sip night. Oh my gosh, let me set the scene for you all.
Please do.
We walked into this aggressively brightly lit studio, and I genuinely, with my whole chest, believed I was going to sit down, pick up a synthetic brush, and just discover a dormant genius.
It really did.
I thought my brain was just, hiding my inner Frida Kahlo until this exact moment in time.
It is fascinating how the environment tricks your brain, though. Like, you've got a little apron on, there's an easel, someone hands you a plastic cup of Pinot Grigio, and suddenly your brain releases this massive flood of dopamine.
Oh, totally.
You fall right into the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah.
Where you are so uneducated in a skill that you completely lack the capacity to see how terrible you actually are at it.
Yeah.
For the first 45 minutes, you're just slapping cobalt blue on a canvas thinking, wow, the way I understand light and shadow is frankly generational.
I felt invincible. I mean, I was doing this weird stippling thing with the brush, entirely convinced I was inventing a new texture.
Oh, I remember the stippling.
But then the instructor does the most cruel thing possible. She tells everyone to stand up, stretch their legs, and walk around the room to look at the other canvases.
It was an absolute bloodbath of the ego. I mean, I looked at my canvas, and then I looked at yours, and it was a horrifying reality check.
Brutal.
We were supposed to be painting a serene, golden hour sunset over a lake, right? Mine looked like a toxic waste spill in a swamp, and yours looked like a heavily bruised plum.
It was a moody plum. I was going for a twilight melancholy.
Sure you were.
But the part that actually sent me into a spiral was the one girl in the front row. Because there's always one.
Oh, the girl who wasn't even paying attention.
Exactly.
She was texting with her left hand, holding a slice of pizza, and just haphazardly flicking her brush with her right hand. And she produced this hyper-realistic, glowing masterpiece that looked like it belonged in the Louvre. Meanwhile, I am aggressively blending my swamp water, just wondering why my trees look like melted broccoli. It really begs the question, is art something you can learn, or is paint and sip just a socially acceptable way for adults to day drink while holding a prop?
It is entirely the prop. Babes, Picasso would have walked into that room, looked at our bruised plums and broccoli trees, handed us the rest of the wine bottle, and said, "Put the brushes down, ladies."
He really would have.
He'd be like, "Stick to Dave."
Which, as dentists, is exactly our lane. And surviving the clinic this week felt like an Olympic sport, honestly.
It always does.
Snark Squad, if you are new here, your two besties spend our days fighting plaque, managing dental anxiety, and our nights psychoanalyzing reality television. It's all about balance. So hit me with your high and low of the week in the clinic.
Okay, my high was so bizarrely endearing. I had an elderly patient, 82 years old, sweet as pie, sit in the chair, look me dead in the eye, and ask if I could make her teeth look like that handsome fellow from the movies with the big jaw.
Like who?
I asked who she meant. She meant Ryan Gosling.
No way.
Yes. I had to gently explain the anatomical limitations of dentures and that I cannot reconstruct her entire skeletal structure to match a Hollywood leading man, but I deeply respected the ambition.
That is incredible. I mean, the psychological projection people put onto their dentist is wild. They don't just want teeth, they want a whole new identity.
What was your high?
My high was actually a moment of beautiful telepathic solidarity with our front desk coordinator. She is notoriously stoic, never smiles.
Oh, I know the type.
But we had a patient throwing a full adult tantrum in the waiting room because he was asked to update his medical history form. He was yelling about how nothing has changed.
The worst.
I made eye contact with the coordinator, and we just shared this silent, profound look of shared exhaustion. It bonded us forever. Oh, and I had one perfect composite restoration. Just textbook.
Love that.
The patient was calm. The margins were flawless. The shade match was imperceptible. It felt like tapping into a flow state. My brain just hummed. It was my actual masterpiece, unlike the swamp painting.
That flow state is the best feeling in the world. Now, give me the low, because I know it wasn't all perfect margins.
My low was Thursday at exactly 4 p.m. Have you ever experienced the moment where your default mode network just violently takes over your brain?
Uh-oh.
My body was physically drilling a cavity. Muscle memory had the wheel. But my consciousness was completely untethered, floating in the astral plane, debating whether I had enough paper towels at home and trying to remember the name of a song from 2004.
Oh my God.
When I snapped back to reality and realized I was holding a high-speed drill millimeters from a human tongue, the adrenaline spike nearly gave me a heart attack.
The sudden jolt of terror. I know exactly what you mean. We literally survive on caffeine and sheer panic.
What was your low?
My low was a patient who completely lacked proprioception, the awareness of where their body is in space.
Oh, no.
It was the busiest part of the day. I'm running behind, and every time I said open wide, they would open for exactly 2 seconds and then slowly bite down on my mirror.
That is infuriating.
I was practically doing a back bend over the chair trying to see the distal of tooth number 18. I was seeing red.
It is the absolute lack of control that gets to us, which is probably why we are all desperately seeking control in these weird, micromanaged ways as adults. Speaking of which, can we discuss the absolute chokehold the adult coloring book industry has on our generation?
Oh, I am a victim. I fully bought into it.
Same.
I went to the craft store after a stressful shift, and I bought the most intricate, terrifyingly detailed mandala coloring book I could find, and I didn't stop there.
Let me guess, the markers.
I bought the professional grade markers, the ones that come in the brushed metal tin where they are arranged by precise hex color codes. I dropped a ridiculous amount of money because I told myself this is the boundary I need, this is my meditative therapy.
But friend, let's analyze the mechanics of that so-called relaxation. Why did coloring suddenly become self-care for millennials?
I don't know why.
I think it's because our daily lives are so ambiguous. There is no clear right way to do adulthood. So we seek out a piece of paper that explicitly tells us, hey, here are the lines, put the color inside them, and you succeed. But it's a trap.
It is an anxiety trap. You sit down, you uncap the expensive marker, and the spaces are microscopically tiny.
Exactly.
The sheer pressure. The second your marker bleeds a millimeter over that thin black line, the illusion of peace is completely shattered.
Because then it's no longer play. It becomes a performance metric. The immediate self-judgment kicks in. You start spiraling like, I can't even color inside the lines. I am failing at a kindergarten activity.
Literally my exact thought.
How can I manage a mortgage when I can't manage a magenta marker?
I physically hid my coloring book under my bed because the half-finished mandala was staring at me, just mocking my inability to commit to a color palette. It was giving me more stress than the biting patient.
That is so real.
But honestly, adulthood is just a series of unprovoked attacks, and nothing proves that more than the biggest conspiracy of the night. Snark Squad, I need to break some news. My brilliant bestie sitting across from me might suddenly be allergic to nuts.
I am still in the denial phase. I ate a handful of almonds yesterday, a snack I have consumed almost daily for the last decade. Suddenly my throat feels scratchy. My lips are tingling.
It is so crazy.
I realized with absolute horror that the human body just pushes surprise health updates without our permission.
It is terrifying, and I know exactly what you did next, too. You consulted Dr. Google.
Of course I did. And you know the mechanics of WebMD. It doesn't use logic. It uses catastrophic escalation.
Always.
Within 3 minutes of typing scratchy throat after almonds, I had bypassed a simple histamine reaction and diagnosed myself with anaphylaxis, 3 rare autoimmune disorders, and impending doom.
Oh.
But scientifically, it is wild. Adult-onset allergies happen when your immune system, which has recognized a protein as harmless for 30 years, suddenly flips a switch and says, actually, this almond is a lethal threat. Deploy the IgE antibodies.
Babes who approved this software update, I did not consent to a total rewrite of my dietary code. It is an outrage that our bodies can just wake up and decide to betray us on a random Tuesday.
It is the ultimate betrayal. but honestly, enough about our paint and sip masterpieces, dental chaos, coloring book therapy, and my mysterious new allergy.
Right, let's focus.
Let's get into 90 Day Fiancé, where people are risking international heartbreak while we're just trying to survive adulthood.
Yes, because speaking of people who are desperate for control and completely unwilling to invest in basic comforts, let's talk about the absolute cheapest man on television, Thomas. And his hostage, fiancé, Paula.
This brings us to a massive, overarching theme for this week's recap session. If we look at the core of these relationships, so many of them are battling over the economics of love versus control. Thomas and Paula are the absolute poster children for this. Let's break down the bicycle incident.
The bicycle disaster. Okay, it is days before their wedding. They are going to a romantic pre-wedding dinner.
Supposedly romantic.
Right. Paula comes out looking stunning. She has clearly spent hours getting ready. She is giving us full bridal glamour. And Thomas forces her to get on a 10-speed bicycle to ride to the restaurant in traffic.
Let's talk about the physical reality of this. It is not just a cute little tandem bike ride through a park.
No.
The wind is whipping her hair into her lip gloss. She is trying to grip his waist with one hand while holding her dress down with the other so she doesn't flash the entire city. She is terrified, she is sweating, and he is shouting back at her to use two hands.
The audacity.
He is completely dismissing her physical panic.
It is a complete logistical nightmare, but it is so much darker than just poor planning. Paula is rightfully furious. She points out that they could have just driven, and Thomas claims he saved a ton of money.
A ton of money.
Paula says, Thomas, parking is like $12. And Snark Squad, what does this menace say? He actually corrects her. He says, actually, it's $20.
That correction is the most telling moment of the entire season. He would rather his future wife be terrified, windblown, and emotionally distressed than part with a $20 bill.
It is sick.
This is where we have to separate the concept of minimalism from what Thomas is actually doing. Minimalism is a lifestyle choice, where you prioritize experiences over material goods. What Thomas is doing is financial coercion. He is weaponizing his frugality to control her environment.
Exactly. He calls her out at the table and says she is consumed by consumerism. Consumerism. Because she wants to arrive at a restaurant without a layer of road dust on her face.
That's just hygiene.
That is not consumerism, Thomas. That is basic human dignity. She left a company in Brazil with 18 employees. She left her family. She moved into his bare-bones apartment. And he is trying to dictate exactly how she moves through the world under the guise of saving money.
And look at Paula's reaction when he backs her into this corner at the restaurant. Her amygdala completely hijacks her brain. She goes straight into a fight-or-flight response.
She really does.
She threatens to go back to Brazil. She says her family is already in town for the wedding. She can just pack her bags and leave with them right now.
I was cheering for her. I was screaming at the television like, do it, Paula. Call the Uber right now. She gets so fed up, she actually drops slurs in Portuguese, calling him an annoying SOB right to his face.
But here is where we need to push back on Paula's dynamic, too. Paula has a very distinct pattern. Whenever she feels a lack of autonomy, she threatens the nuclear option. But she rarely follows through. She says, I can't do this, and walks away from the table. It looks like a definitive breakup. But we both saw the Reddit sleuths in the previews for next week. She is standing there in the wedding dress.
Which brings us to the sunk cost fallacy. Why on earth would she put that dress on after the bicycle incident?
Because the human brain is terribly flawed when it comes to assessing value. The sunk cost fallacy is a cognitive bias, where we continue a behavior or endeavor as a result of previously invested resources, like time, money, or effort.
Right.
Our brains value what we've already spent over our future happiness. Paula is looking at the visa process, the flights her family paid for, the deposit on the venue, the social embarrassment of canceling, and her brain calculates that it is cheaper emotionally to just marry a man she resents than to blow it all up 24 hours beforehand.
It is so dark. I understand feeling trapped, but she is essentially choosing a lifetime of $20 arguments over one day of massive embarrassment.
It's tragic.
I mean, I defend her feeling completely out of her depth in a foreign country, but putting on that dress is a choice.
It is the momentum of the wedding industrial complex. Once that train starts rolling, pulling the emergency brake feels like jumping into a canyon.
Well, speaking of the economics of control and financial leverage, we have to seamlessly move to Marissa and Edward. Because if Thomas uses poverty as a weapon, Marissa's family is using extreme wealth as a weapon.
The 40% trap. The breakfast truce between Marissa and Edward was wild to watch.
The morning after she dramatically walked out of the restaurant, she comes into the kitchen with a fresh blowout. The bangs were giving, by the way, and she is suddenly speaking in this soft, sweet voice. She apologizes and blames the entire fight on being hangry.
Okay, I have to pause here. I know you want to talk about the blood sugar excuse, and hangry is a real condition, but I cannot let Edward's culinary terrorism slide. The pan incident.
Oh my God, you were losing your mind over this.
Snark Squad. Edward is making eggs. He finishes plating the eggs. He then takes a sizzling hot, non-stick frying pan directly off the burner and thrusts it straight under cold running water in the sink.
I cringed.
The sound of that sizzle was like nails on a chalkboard to my soul. Let me explain the thermodynamics of thermal shock. When you expose hot metal to cold water, the metal expands and contracts at different rates. You warp the pan,
You ruined it.
you destroy the non-stick coating. If you were going to marry into money, at least learn how to treat a Le Creuset.
I love that of all the toxic behavior on this show, a warped frying pan is what finally broke your analytical brain.
It was too much.
But the real heat in the scene came right after breakfast when they sat down to sign the prenup.
Right. Edward just blindly signs the documents. He is just relieved she isn't yelling at him anymore. But the editors zoom in on the asset schedules at the back of the prenup. Edward's page is literally blank. $0.
Nothing.
Marissa's page is essentially a phone book of properties, trusts, and investment accounts.
And that stark visual is the perfect setup for the introduction of Joanne, the lizard mom.
Joanne is a masterclass in wealthy paranoia. Marissa goes wine tasting with her mother, and Joanne is sitting there sipping her Chardonnay, looking absolutely devastated that her daughter is happy.
She really did look annoyed.
She cannot tolerate the idea of this wedding moving forward because she views Edward solely as a liability.
So Joanne pulls the most aggressive country club power move I have ever seen. She speed dials the family lawyer right there at the vineyard, puts him on speakerphone, and has him drop a supposed legal bombshell.
It was so calculated.
The lawyer claims that because of the K-1 visa's affidavit of support, Marissa is financially responsible for Edward for 10 years, or 40 quarters of work. And he specifically states that Marissa will owe him 40% of her salary if they divorce.
Okay, this is where we need to stop the tape and deliver a massive reality check to the listeners. Because this scene made me irate. I went deep into the internet facts and Reddit threads, and this 40% claim is a complete producer-driven fake drama.
Break it down. What is the actual mechanism of the affidavit of support? Because they had Marissa looking like she was going to have to hand over half her paycheck for a decade.
The form is called the I-864. When an American sponsors a K-1 visa, they do sign a contract with the U.S. government. But the contract does not entitle the immigrant to a percentage of the sponsor's salary in a divorce.
Right.
The contract simply guarantees that the sponsor will keep the immigrant at or above 125% of the federal poverty line so they don't become a public charge. That's roughly $20,000 to $25,000 a year depending on the state. It is a safety net, not a blanket 40% divorce payout.
So the lawyer was either lying or just heavily edited by TLC to incite panic.
Exactly. TLC uses information asymmetry. They know the audience doesn't understand immigration law, so they present this fabricated 40% metric to make the stakes seem impossibly high. Furthermore, any decent family lawyer would have explained the I-864 to Marissa on day one of filing the visa 18 months ago. You do not discover federal financial mandates 3 days before the wedding on speakerphone at a vineyard. It was entirely staged.
It is so cynical. But even within the fake drama, Marissa tries to defend him. She claims Edward isn't like that. He would never take her money. And Joanne delivers the line of the season.
She practically puffs an imaginary cigarette, stares into the middle distance, and says, "They all say that. I've been divorced."
It was chilling. Joanne is cold. She is calculating. But my God, she has incredible television. But let's ask the real question. Did Marissa already know the law and just play dumb for the cameras to appease her mother?
Absolutely. Marissa is a wealthy, educated woman with the legal team. She knew. She allowed her mother to create this narrative to give herself an out if she needed one. It's all about maintaining leverage.
Which brings us perfectly to our next theme. From Paula refusing to commit to Thomas's lifestyle to Katie refusing to commit to monogamy, the delusions of commitment. Let's talk about Katie and Josh.
Oh, this was hard to watch. Let's start with the sociology of the stag do, because Josh's bachelor party in the UK was visually loud but emotionally devastating.
I was laughing hysterically. He is walking around a pub dressed as Ginger Spice. a sequin Union Jack dress, platform boots, a fiery red wig. It is a UK stag do hazing tradition, but it is so funny.
A stag do is essentially a liminal space. It's a societal ritual where the groom is supposed to symbolically shed his single life through humiliation and excess before crossing the threshold into serious maturity. But the irony here is that Josh is entirely ready for maturity, and his friends are using this ritual to desperately pull him back from the cliff.
While wearing a red wig, Josh confesses to his friends that Katie is struggling with the urge to make out with random people at bars.
Think about the humiliation of that dynamic. Josh is the one in the romantic relationship, yet his friends have to become the voices of absolute reason. They literally stop laughing, stare at him, and tell him that he needs a firm boundary.
They're so serious.
It is deeply embarrassing when your friends are the ones pointing out red flags the size of Big Ben that you are stubbornly ignoring.
So he goes back to the hotel, and they have this pillow talk confrontation. Josh tries to set a boundary. He tells Katie he wants strict monogamy. And Snark Squad, Katie's reaction is one for the history books.
This is where cognitive dissonance takes the wheel. Katie wants the security and emotional validation of marrying Josh, but she also wants the absolute freedom and chaotic validation of being single in a bar. She cannot reconcile them, so her brain starts looking for loopholes.
Loopholes. I mean, she emphasizes her exact outrageous responses. She literally looks at Josh and says, "Can we never make out with anyone again?" As if he just told her she can never breathe oxygen again.
She is acting like it was a prison sentence.
And then she follows it up with the most audacious question of the season. Does the threesome fit into monogamy?
It is wild. She is negotiating fidelity like she's buying a used car and trying to get the floor mats thrown in for free.
She does not want to be married.
Yeah.
Babes, I'm telling you, she belongs to the streets and should absolutely not get married.
And Josh, instead of recognizing that she is handing him a legally binding declaration of infidelity, just gently tries to explain that a mutual threesome is different than her making out with randos at a club. He's a victim of his own confirmation bias. He wants this romantic fantasy so badly that he's delusional.
She reluctantly agrees, saying, "I guess so," and then goes into her confessional and admits she's disappointed that the door is closing. I have zero sympathy for Josh if he goes through with this.
He is willfully blind. Now, speaking of people creating their own problems and ignoring the people who actually care about them, let's transition to a woman who is trying to force destiny itself. Shea and Maxwell. The Holy Delusion.
I was exhausted by this segment. Aisha meets with her godbrother Rod and her friend Kathy. They stage an intervention and beg her to slow down.
And Aisha's logic is a masterclass in contradiction. She sits there, highly defensive, and claims point blank that the marriage is for sure not about getting knocked up. But in the literal same breath, to justify rushing down the aisle, she says, "I'm losing an egg every month."
You cannot make it up. Rod rightfully calls her out. Because she is caught in a blatant lie and possesses zero emotional regulation, we get to the defining moment of the episode, the table tap.
Let's break down the mechanics of the table tap, because it is fascinating human behavior. Rod lightly taps the table with his fingers in frustration. A gentle, percussive tap to emphasize his point.
And Assie acts like he just flipped the table over like Teresa Giudice. She gasps. She physically recoils. She uses a finger tap as an excuse to play the victim, stands up and walks away.
Why do people do this?
Yeah.
When someone is losing an argument logically, their ego cannot handle the defeat. So their brain manufactures a physical threat to justify an escape. She couldn't debate Rod's point about her eggs, so she categorized his finger tap as aggression, which allowed her to flee the scene while maintaining moral superiority.
That is so manipulative.
It is severe emotional dysregulation.
And it gets worse in her confessional. She claims that God is whispering in her ear and that no demons will stop her from walking down the aisle.
Calling your concerned family members demons is the ultimate weaponization of religion. It is a psychological shield. If you claim that God gave you a mandate to marry this man, then anyone who questions your terrible decision isn't just criticizing you, they are arguing with the divine. It completely bypasses personal accountability.
I wanted to scream at the TV. Her ego is the only thing whispering in her ear. God is not telling you to marry a man you barely know.
It's a very sad reality, shielded by massive arrogance. But let's move from families trying to intervene to families who won't even show up. Mallory and Rasit.
Let's start with the bachelor party because I found it hilarious. Rasit goes to a seedy strip club in Alabama called The Pony.
The Pony. A name that just implies sticky floors and questionable zoning permits.
Rasit walks in, pretending to be shocked. Oh no, this is like porno. I've never seen this. Fast forward 20 minutes, and this man is spinning on the stripper pole like a pro.
He really was.
He rated the club a 9 out of 10. And he even complimented a dancer on her lower back tattoo, and she just deadpans it says, "Pay me."
The transactional honesty of strip clubs is a stark contrast to the emotional manipulation we see in the rest of the show. I mean, he adapted to the environment very quickly for someone who claimed to be so culturally shocked.
He looked right at home.
But it ultimately seemed harmless, especially compared to the heavy emotional toll of Mallory's storyline.
Yes, the bachelorette party. She gets on a motorcycle at an outdoor bar, having a cute moment, but then reveals the devastating truth. Her father refuses to attend the wedding because Rasit is Muslim.
This requires a deeper look into the sociology of estrangement. Mallory admits that her father has not been an active part of her life for a decade. When she was in a horrific car accident and hospitalized, he never even visited her. He is a textbook deadbeat.
So why is she letting a deadbeat dad's Islamophobia hurt her feelings now? He doesn't deserve the power to ruin her day.
Because of parasocial grief. Even when a parent is toxic, abusive, or absent, the child still mourns the idea of the parent they never had. A wedding is a societal milestone heavily tied to familial validation. She isn't just crying because her bigoted dad isn't coming. She is grieving the final, undeniable death of the fantasy that he would ever step up and be a real father.
Wow, that breaks my heart.
It's a very specific, agonizing type of pain.
It is. But this is where her friends truly shined. They were such a great support system. They validated her anger, they held her, and they reminded her that she and Rasit are building a new family.
Chosen family is often the only antidote to biological betrayal. Which brings us to our final couple who actually made it down the aisle even if it involved checking for dirt under fingernails, Shea and Annabelle.
The wedding and the will. First, we have the supposed truce. Daughters Allison and Abigail, who have been acting like brats about their inheritance all season, suddenly pivot. They are doing Annabelle's hair and makeup, and they apologize and fake nice.
I am extremely cynical about this.
Yeah.
I am taking bets on how long this truce lasts. Probably only until the tell-all they just realized they were getting the villain edit.
Oh, totally. But the nice moment was instantly ruined for me by the nail check. Snark Squad, I am absolutely repulsed by the scene where Annabelle grabs Shea's hands and aggressively inspects his fingernails for dirt before the wedding.
Right before they walk down the aisle.
Why are a grown man's nails constantly dirty enough to warrant inspection? What is he doing? Does she bathe him? It was giving caregiver, not wife.
It is the infantilization of the partner. When a relationship devolves into one person managing the basic hygiene of the other, it kills romantic equity. And the weirdness just continued with the missing family. Annabelle's family in the Philippines didn't attend remotely.
The excuse was that it's 3 a.m. in the Philippines. Bestie, for your daughter's wedding, you can set an alarm. Something is fishy there.
Exactly. Time zones are an excuse, not a reason. And the ceremony itself was just bizarrely passive.
Shea has his best man read his vows for him. Eyes baffled. Shea is just standing there while his buddy reads his deep romantic feelings to his bride. And Annabelle doesn't even say her own vows.
What does it say about your autonomy when you are a passive participant in your own wedding vows?
But hey, the verdict is, despite the weirdness, they are officially married. They look happy, and Shea has lost a ton of weight thanks to Annabelle's smoothies. A rare, if strange, happy ending.
True. And that massive recap means it is time for our favorite part of the discussion, segments.
Let's do it. Segment 1, passport or problem. The premise is we rapidly categorize the main couples based on their core issue. I will name the couple and we decide if they're giving genuine love, cultural misunderstanding, communication disaster, or giant red flag. You ready?
Born ready.
Thomas and Paula.
Communication disaster. I mean, they don't even speak the same love language. One speaks save his account, the other speaks spoil me.
Perfect. Katie and Josh.
Giant red flag. A neon sign blinking run.
Marissa and Edward.
This is a cultural misunderstanding blended with a giant red flag.
Yeah.
And the red flag's name is Joanne.
Spot on. Mallory and Rasit.
Genuine love. Despite the awful father, they really care about each other.
Moving on to segment 2, customs and confessions. The premise here is if the cast had to answer brutally honest questions at the border. I am interrogating Katie first. Katie, how many randos have you kissed since you got this ring?
She would immediately start debating the legal definition of a kiss. Like, does sharing a straw count? Detained.
Okay, my turn. I am interrogating Thomas. Sir, are you genuinely poor, or do you just hate joy in paying for parking?
He would ask customs if there was a cheaper line he could stand in. Okay, my turn for Marissa. If Edward leaves you, are you going to send your mother to collect his 40%?
Joanna's already in the parking lot with the calculator. Segment 3, Lost in Translation. Decoding what people actually meant versus what they said. Quote, 1, Katie saying, I have an open mind as a person.
Translation, I'm going to cheat on you the minute you go to work.
The accuracy. Quote 2, Joanne saying, I'm just raising the red flag because I'm your mother.
Translation, I hate poor people and I want to scare you out of this marriage.
Yes. Quote 3, Paula saying, I just want to go back to Brazil.
Translation, buy me an Uber to dinner or I'm legally leaving you.
She said what she said. All right, our final segment, next flight out. Final predictions before the season ends. Who is improving?
Mallory and Rasit, they survived the bachelor party and bonded over her awful dad. They have a united front.
Who is a disaster?
Paula and Thomas. The bike ride was the nail in the coffin. You cannot come back from that.
What is the next shocking secret?
Edward actually has a secret bank account, or Katie already made out with the best man.
Definitely the best man. Who is taking the next flight home?
Paula. She is on a Delta red-eye as we speak.
And finally, give me a ridiculous prediction.
Mito, from the Debbie and Mito storyline, will show up to his wedding dressed as the Gold Power Ranger.
I honestly wouldn't even blink if that happened. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. But before we finish the sangria, friend, leave us with a provocative thought.
I want everyone to mull over the sheer power dynamic of the K-1 visa. If an American sponsor holds the threat of deportation over a partner's head, and the foreign partner holds the threat of a 10-year financial support mandate over the American hearting, is it even possible to have an equal romantic marriage when the government essentially forces you into a hostage negotiation?
Wow. That is a deep, dark question to end on. Snark Squad, I want you to hit the comments. Have you ever had a paint and sip disaster? What was the high and low of your workday? And has adulthood ever surprised you with a completely random, out-of-nowhere allergy?
Keep your passport ready, trust your instincts, and we'll see you on the Snark side.